Welcome to Conversations with Your Higher Self. I'm Alleson Gregary, and today we are here with Elizabeth Pemberton. And Elizabeth is a holistic wellness practitioner, a Reiki energy worker, founder of Holistic Life, and owner of Island Holistic Wellness in Detroit. Welcome, Elizabeth. It's so good to meet
Hi.
you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to meet you too, finally. I
I've
kind of
been,
feel like I know you because we sort of talk on Facebook, but we've never really chatted before. So
I
this is
know,
great.
I know. You have so many interesting programs going on, and I'm just like, oh, she's doing a lot of really cool stuff. So I wanted to chat with you today. So
Thank
let's
you.
start at the beginning. How did your awakening start, and how did it foray into the wellness practice that you have?
Well, I feel like I've always been a very spiritual person. I grew up in a very structured religious household, but I was always spiritual. I always felt close with nature. I always felt close with God. And for me, my spiritual awakening and my physical healing have just gone hand in hand. It's just been this path for me. And I think sometimes looking back, you wonder why all those things happen to you. And I think it's because searching for that spiritual connection that I've been looking for, something deeper, and then also looking for the physical healing, just ended up kind of helping each other, kind of like holding each other's hand along the way. So it started off for me, if I can kind of look back to the beginning, it was seventh grade for me. I was a teenager going through that really rough time that a lot of us go through in middle school. Didn't really have a lot of friends, I was awkward and uncomfortable. And I became really depressed, actually. And so I was suicidal.
Mm.
And that's something that I've struggled with off and on through most of my life, up until the past 10 years or so. And I just always felt like something was a little bit off with me. I felt like something was wrong. And I remember telling my parents, like, something isn't right. I don't know what's wrong. And they would just say, oh, you're fine. Or they would take me to the doctor and they couldn't find anything. And I just didn't feel right. So I struggled with anxiety, with depression, off and on. I got married really young, in my early 20s. I was 20 actually when I got married, and moved overseas. And so at that point, I was sort of on my own with my husband. We were newlyweds and I was very independent. So I started looking at nutrition. I started learning about nutrition and how nutrition supported my body. So that was really the beginning of my physical healing, which has then continued on to this day. I'm still working on things a little bit. But as far as my awakening, it probably started really intensely around the age of 30. I found myself not really lining up with the spiritual path that I had been on. Always had looked for more, always, but kind of in a soft way. And right around the time I was 30, 32, probably, I started deeply, deeply searching for something more, something more than what I had been experiencing. And so that looked like, at the time, reading books about the chakra system. I'm a book nerd. So for me, my go-to is always books. And this is kind of back before really we had YouTube or anything, So I would read books about the chakra system, about your spiritual healing, about becoming an empath. I discovered that I was an empath. So that explained so much for me, so much about my sensitivity and feeling all of the feelings of other people. I never knew that everybody didn't feel that. I just thought, like, that's how people were.
Yeah.
Someone walks in the room in a bad mood and I thought everybody knew, but really I realized it was just me. I also was looking at spirit guides and angels and angel numbers and all of that kind of thing in the beginning. And it just kind of grew from there.
Now, do you mind talking a little bit about the suicidal thoughts? Because I feel like a lot of people that are very empathic and also maybe not able to get onto the awakening path, where they're probably needing to go but not able to figure it out. What kinds of things were you feeling? What felt off that made you feel like suicide might be an option?
It just felt to me like it was too much, like the world was too much. And I felt a deep lack of control, a lack of control over my family life, a lack of control over my social life, a lack of control over my school, my schooling, and my physical appearance was also a really big problem for me at that time, as a preteen, and feeling so uncomfortable in my body. And just like, I think I always felt like I'm in the wrong skin. Even from the time that I was a young child, I remember feeling like something isn't right here. Like, what's wrong with me? I remember looking at my hands even as a little girl and thinking, these are not the right hands. I would look at my feet like, these are not the right feet. It just didn't fit.
That is so
And
interesting.
yeah. And so I think, you know, I don't know what purpose it really served for me other than leading me to want to heal, to want to fix it, to want to figure out what was going on with me. In my journey now, I believe a lot of that was to do with toxicity, which you know a little bit about because you follow some of my work. And that's been a big part of my healing is detoxifying. And that's something I help people with as well. And so looking back, I can point to that time and say, oh, I know what was going on at that time. I had metal in my mouth. I had
Mm,
fillings, mercury. So I was being poisoned by mercury. I was dyeing my hair. I was perming my hair. I was slathering chemicals all over my skin
mm.
for vanity reasons. I had no idea. It never had even occurred to me until I was in my 20s that what you put on your skin goes in your body. So now I don't put
Yeah,
anything on my skin that I wouldn't eat, I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of my rule. Like if it goes on the skin, I would want to be able to eat it. And I honestly think at that time, that's a big part of what was going on with me. I'm sure it would have been hard anyway, because it's
yeah.
hard to be a teenager. My daughter's going through, that time right now, and I've seen her struggle, but she has the benefit of having a very clean lifestyle because that's the type of lifestyle that I built for my family. But I think looking back, it was a huge issue. I think not only was I going through hormonal changes and really not knowing my place in the world, but also I had this toxic chemical overload on my poor little body at the time. And I don't think my body knew what to do with it.
Mm. Yeah, we forget the skin is the biggest organ.
Yeah,
You just touch
absolutely.
things and put things on you all day long without even thinking about it. Like things that you wouldn't like stick in your heart or in your lungs, but you're putting it all over this organ.
Yeah,
It's wild. Have you followed Dolores Cannon at all or any of
a
her?
bit. Yeah.
Okay. A friend of mine just sent me one today on ET's Dolores Cannon talk. I'm going to have to send it to you because she described what an ET coming to Earth for the first time, a volunteer to come here to work during this time, feels. And it's everything that you described that you went through. Looking at
Mhm.
your hands and feet, not even thinking they're yours, not feeling like you belonged in that body. It's
Mhm.
fascinating.
Mhm. Yeah,
Wow.
that sounds like that could be. I do think that, I've been looking into that for the past few years and that fits. I think I probably have had other lifetimes on Earth, but I think that I've had a lot of them other places too. And I don't know that this is the most comfortable place.
Yeah, especially
Feels pretty
now.
uncomfortable, especially right now. Yeah. Although thank goodness I'm more myself now than I've ever been. I mean, these past 2 years have been hard on everybody, but I mean, I went back to school and opened up my business, my first brick and mortar in 2020. So
Wow, good for
it was
you.
it
When a
was a
lot of
big year of
people were shutting
transformation.
down, you were opening and starting
Hmm.
something new. That's great.
Hmm.
What was the inspiration for that?
Well, everything shut down. My whole business shut down. I was half in person at another location and half online. And I found around March of 2020 that nobody wanted their sessions anymore. I even had people that had prepaid to work with me and
Hmm.
didn't want their appointments. And I was sitting there like, okay, God, what the heck is going on? It's not like it's even a money thing. Like people are afraid of finances. Like they had prepaid for their sessions and I couldn't get them to book their appointments. So I found myself wandering around, my children uncharacteristically home all day, my husband working from home all day, me home all day in the house, rattling around. I did not know what to do with myself. And so I decided to walk. And that's when I started learning about sound healing. So I recorded some mantras of just myself saying mantras, and I put my little earbuds in. And I went on, 4, 5, 6, 7 mile walks every single day, even when the weather was terrible. I'm in Michigan here, and March is not usually the best month. Today, we're actually having an uncharacteristically beautiful day. It's like 70 and sunny out, but
Wow.
I was forcing myself. I thought I have nothing else to do. I did all the cooking and all the cleaning, and there was no work to do, professional work. So I just went on these walks and I listened to mantras, listened to podcasts, did a lot of inner child work, cried my eyes out, and walked and walked and walked and walked. And in that, I also created this really great relationship with this awesome tree I have in my backyard. I have this huge oak tree. I couldn't fit my arms twice around it. You know, that's how big it is.
Wow.
And it's got a little seat at the roots at the back. So I would just come back from my walks and just sit on the roots of the tree and just surrender. And I totally let it all go. And I said, I'm afraid, but it's okay. If this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, that's okay. You know, I love what I do. I love being, you know, working with wellness and with people, and I love coaching people, and I love doing my energy work, but maybe there's something more. And I really didn't just say the words, but I really did feel that. I really settled into that and let it all go. And it was a huge release. I was also at that time doing a lot of foam rolling. So I was feeling physical releases as well, releasing trauma from my body with the foam rolling and doing some somatic release and things like that. And truly just felt this peace, you know, over the course of a couple of months, just come over me. And a friend invited me to move into her office. She had a little space available for me. So I moved in there. It was going great over the summer, and I was starting to like ramp up again. People were starting to come out again in the summer of 2020. I was having some appointments. I launched my first program that summer with my new clients in my new space, and I was so excited about that. The first time I had ever done a legitimate program. And then shortly after that, she needed me to move out because she was growing like crazy, and it was a new business for her too.
Wow.
And so I was just, again, like, okay, what's going on here? Because I just got going again. Things are going good. And now the rug was ripped out from under me. It was, you know, it was upsetting at that time. And we're friends, and, you know, it wasn't unkind in any way, but it was just, she needed that space, and I had to find my own. And through a series of events, I ended up finding the space that ended up being mine. And it was more money than I had ever intended on paying. And I told them that. And I said, I love it. You know, I can't do it. It's too much money. I said, but if you ever split it in two, because it was the kind of space that could be split into two spaces. I said, just let me know, you know, and I love it. I would love to move in, but it's just too much right now. So they, a day later, called me back and said, well, what if we reduce the price by this much? And it was just enough that I could fathom it being a possibility. It was literally, I was signing the lease, agreeing to pay every single dollar that I make per month in my business. Because I'm a small business. I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I cook and I clean and I run the kids around and I do all that stuff. And this is kind of my side gig, you know, this is my 15, 20 hours a week kind of coaching practice. And I signed the lease, and my husband was fully in support of me doing that. And I said, you know what? The worst is I don't make any money. Like, at least we won't be in the hole. At least I know I can make enough to pay the rent. And so that's what I did. And a mentor of mine told me, if you have to pay the rent, you'll make the money. And he was right, because that kind of lights a fire into you, doesn't it? Sometimes the pressure of having to do something that's scary. I was terrified. I didn't sleep the night before I signed my lease. I was so scared. But it did feel right. So in December of 2020, I signed my first lease and opened up my wellness center.
Wow. Wow. And is it going better than you expected?
It's going really well. Yeah, it's going really, really well. I love being on my own, you know, not that I don't like partnering with people, but being in my own space is really good for me. And I really enjoy it. And it's a beautiful space. And I had, I don't know if you write lists down, you know, you try to intend something and you're trying to, you know, manifest something. And one of my things was, it has to have a lot of light. And this place not only has a big door with a window in it, it actually has a garage door full of windows in the front, and it's south facing. So I have light no matter what, all day long, even in the winter up here in Michigan. So it's just perfect. It's wonderful.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about how some things wellness wise that you're working on came to be. I know that I signed up for the hair loss program that you're doing, because I've noticed, since I have what I presume is the COVID virus, the second time I wasn't checked, but the first time I noticed hair loss. I've heard a lot of people online talking about hair loss from it. And then I believe my husband and I both got it again this past December. and it's starting again. What is that what kind of spurred you into doing this program, or are there a myriad of other reasons why?
No, it's exactly that, actually. So I had what I believe was COVID actually in January of 2020 for the first time. It was before we even knew what it was.
Yeah, same
Back when
here.
the symptoms started coming out, I was reading everything, and I just was shocked, like, oh my gosh, I had that. Before we even knew what it was, I had the fever and the getting sicker and then getting better and then getting sicker again. I had like the exact, structure of what they were saying COVID was. But I didn't experience hair loss after that time. And then in 2021, I had it again in February. So just over a year ago now. And a month later, my family, and I'll never forget this, it was just like, so it's cemented into my brain. We were actually driving down to Florida for spring break with my family. We had rented a car, and the car was sprayed with all kinds of chemicals, like air fresheners, really, really strong. And I'm
Yeah,
sensitive to that kind of stuff
me
anyway.
too.
So we're driving down to Florida, and I remember scratching my head and kind of like pulling my hands away and just seeing tons of hair in my hands.
Mm.
And I don't have super thick, I've never had really thick, coarse hair anyway. It's fine, it's thin. So I don't have a lot to lose. And I'm like scratching. And then I'm just feeling like every time I touch my hair, I can just feel the hair is just releasing and letting go. So I have this memory of having the window cracked on the highway, driving down to Florida and just pulling my hair out and letting it go into the wind, just over and over and over again. And I just couldn't stop because it almost was itchy in a weird way as the hair was falling out. And I was just letting my hair go. I had to buy a brush, like a more bristly brush than I normally use, halfway down the trip because I couldn't even get it all out with my fingers. My hair was coming out so fast.
Mm.
I was freaking out. And then
Yeah.
down there for a week, and it didn't stop. That whole week I was losing my hair that fast.
Mm.
And I remember thinking it was the air freshener. I thought it was the chemicals in the air freshener that they had put in this rental car, and I was having like a chemical exposure reaction to that. And that's what I even did an email about that. I was telling my clients about it. I'm like, okay, this is what happened, and here's how I'm fixing it. Because when I came home, of course, I started doing the detox things. In fact, a new detox supplement came into my awareness right at that time, right when I really needed it. I started using that, and I started seeing my hair grow back a little bit, but it wasn't enough. And so I have a good background of hair growth techniques and supplements anyway, because like I said, I've never had really thick hair. So I've always been looking for ways to naturally, increase the health of my hair and my scalp and everything. So I started doing all of the things that I had done over the years here and there, do a little bit of this different type of shampoo washing here, this kind of technique there, this supplement there, and I just put them all together. And then I researched more and more and started gradually adding other things to that protocol. And I had my hairdresser kind of keeping an eye on things. I said, you got to let me know, for sure. It seems to me like it's growing back. I really think it is. And so I don't know, maybe 6 weeks after the incredible loss, I have some pictures of my hair and just all of the baby hairs just coming out of my head like crazy. It was really, really working. And since then, it's stayed in. My hair hasn't really fallen out again, other than the natural, cycles of losing some hair. So I wanted to make sure that it really lasted, all of the things that I was doing, because it's not just one thing. It's a series of natural, holistic, safe, gentle things that I'm doing that are working for me. So it's not the kind of course where I can say, I guarantee for sure it's going to work for everybody, but this is what I did. This is
Right.
what worked. It's no chemicals. It's nothing, nothing weird or crazy. It's just herbs and supplements and, different protocols and practices on the scalp and then internally as well. So it's what's worked for me, and it's continued to work. I wanted to really make sure that it didn't just work for 6 months and then stop again. But I've been doing this stuff for almost a year now. So it's about 11 months now that I've been doing these things. And so far, so good.
Because, a lot of people say that COVID really is just like the yearly flu. They've just kind of made it into something bigger than it is. Whether it's that, whether it's not that, what do you think's going on with this virus to cause something like this? It's just so bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't really know. And I don't know how out there you want to go with this conversation, but I mean, I think stuff is being done to us And I think stuff was done to this thing that we're calling a virus as well. And I don't know if this was a intended effect or not, probably not. But I think it's due to the, we've never seen anything like this before. Our bodies have never experienced anything like this before. It's new and not in a typical, the cold changes every year kind of new, like it's drastically different, I think. But I don't really have a good answer for why our hair is falling out. I just think it's some kind of toxicity. And that's a big part that's kind of folds into the other work that I do, which is detoxifying. And I think, we do live in a very toxic world, and our poor little bodies, are doing everything that they can to keep up with that. And so that's a big part of the things that I do and that I help my clients with too.
Sorry, I have somebody bothering me to come up here and I'm going to get scratched.
That's okay.
So yeah, that in itself is such a huge subject, the toxic world that we live in, because I've noticed from the time I started having children in my mid-20s to now I'm in my late 50s, which sounds weird to say. I am getting more and more chemically sensitive as time goes on. I cannot walk down a fertilizer aisle at Lowe's, and I cannot be around like Lysol and sprays like that. It has a very bad negative effect on me. What can we do to start taking small steps to start making our environment and our overall lives more healthy?
Mm-hmm. One of the easiest things to do is the things that you have control over, right? So that's cleaning up your home. So I recommend an air filter. Is the highest quality air filter that you can afford in your home. Getting rid of all of the chemicals on your skin, like we talked about, that's huge. So any types, you don't need moisturizers and scrubs and, shower gels and shampoos full of chemicals. You don't need any of that stuff.
What do you use?
I use oil. So I buy a big jug of apricot kernel oil. That's my favorite. I'll use some rose water or some colloidal silver, and then and some essential oils. And I just mix a few drops of each thing together in my hands, and that's my moisturizer. Oh, you can also just use oil. You can just use coconut oil or olive oil if you have that in the cabinet or whatever. Any kind of, if it's organic, if it's good quality, you can use it on your skin.
What do you use for soap?
For soap, I don't actually use soap very often. So I do keep soap in my shower, and I use just whatever organic, natural, essential oil scented soap I can find that's good quality, but I only use soap maybe in the winter once a month, in the summer maybe a couple times a month, maybe once a week, but of course I use soap on my hands, and then I scrub my feet with soap too. But for my body, I find that I don't really need a lot of soap. I just, with water and a washcloth or some kind of like a loofah or something like that, is usually all that I really need. I also will do oil cleansing. Have you heard of that before?
No.
So we have sebum in our skin. Our skin produces oil. And what the soap does, soap has two sides of the molecule, one that attracts water and one that attracts oil. That's why it works to get the oil off of your skin. So when we use this oil cleansing practice, it's just rubbing oil on the skin and allowing the oil molecule to attract the oil or dirt molecules that are on your skin. And then you either shower it off, or I use a washcloth, usually just a cotton washcloth in the shower. And using that friction of the washcloth and the warmth of the water, it just cleans your skin. And you leave the shower without feeling that really squeaky clean feeling, which is kind of hard to get used to at first. But once you get used to it, your skin just feels so soft all the time. I don't even need moisturizer or lotion. I don't even put oil on my skin a lot of the time. Some in the winter here in Michigan, I do have to. My face, I do moisturize anyway, just to, help keep the wrinkles away. I'm hoping they stay away as long as possible. So I'll use oil on my face, but my body, I don't even need to use anything on most of the time. It just stays with the oil cleansing. It's just very gentle. Also, soap affects the pH of your skin. It changes that pH, and oil doesn't do that. So just a nice oil cleansing shower it's a beautiful thing. Give it a try sometime. Tell me what you think.
It's such a stigma though to get over, not soaping. It's like when I went from like I figured out a while ago, several years ago, that deodorant was bad. And so I went to a more natural deodorant, and that was a challenge. Halfway through, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
I've been there. I did the same thing. That's
really
I
hard.
think that's the hard. I think the shampoo and the deodorant are the hardest ones to switch over to more natural.
Yeah.
The oil cleansing, it's a little weird at first because you don't feel so squeaky clean, but it's pretty easy, especially when you notice how soft your skin is afterwards and you don't get that dry, flaky skin, which probably isn't as big of a deal for you in Florida anyway, but in drier
I
climates,
still
man.
feel dry. I
Do you?
still, yeah, I moisturize every day. I get something from Whole Foods, which might not be good either. I can't say I've looked at the ingredients, so shame on me.
Yeah, just get yourself some apricot kernel oil or almond oil, avocado oil, something like that. And I just buy a big, like a pump bottle, big brown glass one like this. And I just fill it up with the oil and slather that on before I go in the shower. Sometimes I'll put essential oils in it too if I'm feeling like it. And basically just kind of wash the oil off in the shower. And most of it goes on the washcloth. So you do have to maybe use an enzyme soak in your washcloth if you get a little oil residue on those, but it's not that big of a deal.
What are some of the biggies that we can do in the kitchen to clean up our diets?
Number one is oil. Again, we'll just keep talking about oil. The best thing is to get rid of your seed oils. So never use canola oil, never use corn oil, never use soybean oil. You want to stick with saturated fat as much as possible. Our bodies just need saturated fat. So the best oils are coconut oil, palm oil, if you can find a sustainable one. And then if you do dairy, butter, cream, and then even ghee. Even people that don't eat dairy usually do fine with ghee because all of the milk solids are removed from the butter oil. It's really more of an oil. So I would say make those your staples for cooking. We generally have a lot of unsaturated fats in our diet, especially if we eat out. So that would be the number one. Number two, quit cleaning your sink, your countertops, or your dishes with chemicals. It's been said that people with cancer should never use the dishwasher for their dishes because those dishwasher detergents, those tablets, the gels, the powders, they have so many chemicals in them and there's a residue. Yeah. I remember even as a child smelling that residue on the plate, eating and feeling like I was eating the chemicals. And I would tell my mom, like, I smell this on the plate. And she would say, no, you don't. Like, I really do. I can smell it. Nobody believed me, but you know, I've obviously been sensitive my whole life, but so hand washing dishes for cancer patients or getting the most clean, gentle, you know, dishwasher, kind of the detergent that you can find. And there's a lot of companies now that are coming out with things. When I've been doing this for about 20 years. So back in the beginning, it was really hard to find this stuff. There was just a couple companies in the country, but now it's actually super easy to find. If you have any inclination to want to clean up, you know, the products in your home, it's really easy to find. Young Living, I mean, it's a little pricey, but all of their products are really clean. There's a lot at Whole Foods that you can find ordering online, lots of different companies.
Yeah. And then washing clothes too.
But again, it's pretty easy.
That's
pretty easy to find the natural stuff, even at Target. You know, when I take people through my program, this is one of the things I do in my 6-month program. I take people through step by step, and we have levels, you know, levels of comfort, levels of financial, you know, capability that you stuff, whatever you want to spend on this kind of stuff. And also levels of like, am I willing to place an order online and have to think about that? Or do I just need to get it at Target when I go? Because that's what I do. And I don't have room in my brain for anything else. Yeah. So it's all okay. Right? Yeah. If you're using Tide, which is full of chemicals, and you just want to do a better choice, then buy 7th generation at Target. It's not perfect, but it's better. It's a step in the right direction. We
actually went to the Sheets, Earth Breeze. Have you heard of Earth Breeze?
I've heard of it, but I haven't tried them. Are they good?
Well, we live in an RV, so space is limited. And the last thing you want to do is have a big bottle of something in here. And yeah, it's great. Just one sheet's all you need. Sometimes I'll put in 2, but you really only need 1.
I'll have to try it.
So it's a little envelope, just, you know, flat little envelope. and they work.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And less
So,
plastic, no plastic too. That's
no
great.
plastic. No. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's the hard thing, because I tend to be, and I've worked on it quite a bit, one of those people who it's like, okay, all this is bad. I'm just going to throw it all in the trash and start over. And then
Mhm.
you're like, oh shit, what do I do? This is so overwhelming. So taking
Yeah.
little steps at a time is really key, don't you think?
I mean, that's basically what I built my coaching practice on, because I literally made myself sick stressing out about this stuff. When my
Yeah.
children were small, I was just determined that they were going to eat healthy, have no toxins, no chemicals. I was trying to just be the perfect mother. I'm sure other people can relate to. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, researching all the time, trying to do everything right, like you did, throwing all of the bad stuff out and starting from scratch. Well, at the time you couldn't find it. In the area I live in, we don't even have a Whole Foods. We don't have a Trader Joe's.
Oh,
We ended up eventually having a health food store, but at the beginning we didn't even have that. And of course my budget was limited. I'm like a young stay-at-home mom, single income household, and I actually ended up with adrenal fatigue because of the
mm,
level of stress, because I would wake up in the morning stressed. What am I going to feed them? What am I going to, I know they can't have this and they can't have that. And that the meat's bad. And so I need to find the way to get the healthy meat, and the dairy's bad. So I have to find a way to get the raw dairy. And, I can't even give them this vegetable because that might be bad. So I have to ferment my vegetables. And I was doing literally everything, making my own yogurt and sauerkraut and everything. And I had eventually found a doctor that diagnosed me with that. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm jittery, I'm shaky all the time, that can't sleep, can't do anything. I'm craving carbohydrates, gaining weight, all of this stuff. And so that was when I first started learning about supplements, actually, was when I healed myself from adrenal fatigue, and amino acid therapy was a big part of that. And also chilling out a little bit,
yeah.
not trying
Yeah.
to be perfect.
Yeah. That right there is key. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to try
Mm-mm.
our best, and whatever we can accomplish is good enough.
Yeah.
So you raised your children in a clean eating lifestyle.
Mhm.
What would you say to a mom who has like a 4-year-old that likes the little snacks, but she would really like to shift everything over to more healthier eating, but you know, little Joey wants the Oreo cookies
Mhm.
and
Well, I
he's
would
going to throw
say,
a fit if he has to eat an apple.
well, I would say at 4 years old, you have it so easy because they're not in school yet. Before they go into school, you have total control, unless you have, relatives or whatever that don't really do what you want to do. But
Yeah.
um, I feel like a lot of us have this fear that our children won't eat. Like, oh, we have to feed them 3, 4, 5 times a day. They need snacks. They need all of this stuff. This is new. Historically speaking, human beings aren't meant to eat 3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6, 7 times a day. This is not
good
normal.
point.
But we have this thought like, oh, if we don't feed it, if our kids, anytime our children say they're hungry, we have to give them food. And so I would say to this mom whose child wants Oreos and she wants them to have apples, I would say, you just tell them no, lovingly, kindly. Here's an apple. They don't want it. You say, okay, well, it's here when you want it.
Now, what
And
if
the
they are
child,
school age? How do you combat that? They're a little
it's
bit
harder.
older.
Yeah, it's harder. The earlier you can start, the better. So mine, that's all they knew. But my children both have told me they've had some trauma, going to school, and mom wouldn't let them eat the birthday cupcake at the birthday party and had to have the organic thing from home. So in retrospect, I think I was a little too harsh. What I ended up learning and teaching now that I teach other people is the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is 80% of the time you do your best, and 20% of the time live a little bit.
Yeah.
So looking back, I wish that I had just, we wouldn't have that stuff in the home. No Oreos in the home, no sugary cereals in the home, no ice cream and Doritos and all that stuff. It just doesn't exist. So at home, we don't have that. I cook my food. You eat real food, whole foods from scratch as much as possible. And then once a week, you go out to eat, or you go to a birthday party and you have the birthday cake. Because I think, as human beings, we're meant to have experiences, right? We're not here to just be
Right.
perfect and eat only, rabbit food, or only pastured meat or only. We're here to have an enjoyable experience with food. And I personally love food. I have some friends that are like, I just eat to live. I don't really care about it, what it tastes like. I just know I need calories, so I eat something. I'm not that way. Man, I
Yeah,
love
I'm not
food.
either.
I love food. I love food that tastes good. I like to cook good food, and to me, flavor and texture, it's all very important. But for those younger families, I mean, my heart goes out to you because I've been there. It's a struggle, but I think finding your balance is key. For most people, that looks like only having good stuff at home. And then when you're out of the house, hopefully not all the time, maybe you have to restrict some things. Like I know when my little brother played soccer, for snacks, they had orange slices and their bottle of water that they brought from home. But I know when my children were in sports, it was a bag of chips and some cookies and a juice box, or even not even a juice box, a sugary drink, Capri Sun or something like
Yeah.
that. There was this huge shift, and there was this sense of like deprivation for my children. If they didn't have that, they felt really, really deprived. But you have to draw the line somewhere. And so mine would
Yeah.
be, well, you can have that snack every other game, or you can have that snack once a week, or whatever it ended up being. But I'm not going to let you have that. So I found we ended up having a good, we worked it out and ended up having a balance. So they would ask me, and I have some strange brain that I can really keep track. I know what everybody ate all week. So I can like kind of do this little mental calculation. Okay, you had birthday party on Sunday, so you need to take a break for a few days. And then yes, on Wednesday, you can have something. I have one friend who does the weekend thing. So they eat super, super healthy Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, they each get to have, what they want, or a treat, or go out to eat or something like that. So it's another way to look at it.
Oh, that's very good. What do you think the role is of a clean lifestyle in a spiritual awakening, or trying to become more spiritual and more centered and grounded and raise your vibration? What's the role in these chemicals in the home and food?
I think that the chemicals that we're exposed to make it a lot harder for us to ascend and awaken spiritually. I know I can really only speak from my personal experience, what I've experienced. And I know since I've been detoxing, my spiritual awakening has gone extreme.
Really?
I've been awakening much, much faster at a faster rate. Now, this could also be to the planetary influences and everything else we're going through right now. But
what have you
I
noticed?
think my dreams are much more intense and vivid. I'm remembering my dreams every single night now, where I didn't used to do that. I hear my guides now. I feel my guides, where a few years ago, it was just one of those things I wanted. I was always asking for, and I had my intuition, but I didn't feel like I had that strong of a communication. So I would say my communication has cleared way up. My meditations are better. I have physical sensations in my body. Clear to me, I can tell is communication from my guides that I never had before. And I think I lost track of the question. What was your question?
Oh, well, what's the role of all of the food and, having a clean home and all of that in the awakening process, in your
I think
ascension?
when our environment is clean and our vessel is clear, I just think that opens up those channels of communication that much more, clearing away the yucky stuff that's interfering with all of that.
Yeah, I can see
Because we're
that.
spiritual beings, right? This is what we're all here. We're all here to be and to do that. And whether or not you think that's deliberate, maybe some of it is, maybe some of it's accidental. But I think we have been poisoned. I mean, just to put it bluntly, I think that there's a lot of poisons in our environment and in our bodies. And I think most people have no idea how bad it is, how toxic we are as human beings right now, as a whole. I mean, you can just look at, what, I don't know, you feel energy. I'm sure a lot of your audience feels energy from people. I can go into a store now and feel the heaviness of people just walking around me, and it breaks my heart, but they are full of toxicity in their physical bodies. They're being bombarded with these other waves of energy coming at them all the time. Plus, it's scary. Things are just weird out there right now. We're getting better, but it's really weird. So we're being put through so much. And when we're distracted by feeling bad, who has the luxury, when you're sick and you're unhealthy and you're not using the bathroom properly and nothing is kind of flowing through and clearing out like it should in your body, who has the luxury to go and say, oh, I'm going to awaken spiritually right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about some of your programs that you do, Elizabeth, and how people can find you. And I'll put information on the link below the podcast and the video. But
Okay.
share a little bit about what you have going on right now.
Okay, thanks. I'd love to. So my latest thing is this hair regrowth program that we talked about a little bit. It's in pre-registration right now. So you can actually register for this pre-recorded video program for just $97 right now. The price will go up shortly to $197. So it's a good time to join that program. It's about a few hours worth of video content plus a lot of extras, guides and downloads and things like that comes with that. You can watch it at your own pace. I take you through step by step literally every single thing that I have done to successfully regrow my hair after I lost it, after I was sick. And then
I'm
also
so excited for that.
yeah, I'm excited too. I'm really excited. I'm glad you'll be joining me. That's awesome. And then, so that's kind of my newest thing. I have a few other smaller pre-recorded programs. I have one about nutrition, I call Back to Basics Nutrition Boot Camp, and that is nutrition only. I also have a fasting program that's similar, pre-recorded. It was a class that was run live, and then I have it recorded. So that's on my website as well. And then my main thing, what I call my flagship program, my bread and butter, and this is probably, I would say 75% of my clients are in my 6-month program. So my 6-month program is called Transform Your Life. And it is basically helping my clients through whatever they need to transform their life into something new. So we cover lots of different things, including the law of attraction. We cover personality typing tests, the Enneagram being one of them. That's my favorite. It's the one I use the most in my practice. We talk about a lot of the things we talked about today, detoxification. We talk about clearing the home and the environment of toxins and chemicals. And we also talk about energy healing. The program also includes guided meditations and/or energy healing with that. So for my in-person clients, I see them twice a month in person. We do energy work and coaching. And then for my distant clients, we just meet just like you and I are right now on Zoom or with a phone call, depending on their preference. So it's 2 75-minute sessions per month for 6 months with me, one-on-one, live, and also the resource sheets that go along with that. So the entire program comes with a packet that is essentially all the bread and butter of the program. So basically, if you want to just sit and talk and just look at the program on your own time, you can do that. But we go through the program step by step together, focusing on any areas that the client wants to focus on, me leading them through, any additional help that they need with the content of the program, in addition to personalized energy work and/or guided meditations with that. The other benefit of the program is you have unlimited access to me the whole time. So as many texts, emails, occasionally a phone call. If you're having a bad day and you need some extra energy work, if you are in the grocery store, like, what do I need, this thing or this thing? I'm really not sure. I'm there for you, and I always answer as soon as I can. All of my program clients. Individual sessions are also available, but those are not, sort of that unlimited contact thing. So my program clients are really my inner circle. I'm here for them the whole time that we are working together. As much support as you need from me. One of my goals is to just never have anybody feel like, oh, I'm going through these changes. I'm changing my diet. I'm changing my outlook on life. I'm learning how that my thoughts matter. I'm learning that I get what I think about, but I'm overwhelmed and I'm confused and I don't know what to do. So my goal is to always make sure that everybody going through that process has my unlimited guidance and support. So all of that's available on my website, which I think that you'll probably share the link to that.
Yeah.
And I also offer a free 30-minute consultation to anybody, because it is, working with someone new, not really knowing me. I always like to give everybody a chance to answer as many questions, ask as many questions as they like. I'm pretty active on Facebook. So I have a Facebook group, which you are in. I have a few Facebook groups, actually. My main one is Holistic Life with Elizabeth. And then I'm on Instagram as well, Elizabeth Holistic Wellness. And I have a business, brick and mortar business, Instagram too, called Island Holistic Wellness.
You're a busy lady.
I got a lot going on.
That's great.
It's all good.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
You know, and as I'm sitting here getting pestered to feed somebody, my little furry friend, it's important what we feed our pets too, right? I mean, we really need to pay attention to that. I've had a lot of issues with this one with bad food.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tainted food that we've received from overseas on occasion.
Well, I know, with you being an intuitive individual, that has, for me, I found that's been my biggest resource. Yes, investigating and making sure you're buying the highest quality food you can afford. Yes. But I go with my heart on my pet's food. What do I feel drawn to feed them? I'm in the store with my eyes closed sometimes, like what's leading me to that.
Yeah.
So for me, grain-free is important. I don't believe that animals are intended to eat a lot of grain. And there's been some controversy about that, over the past few years, but I stick to my opinions on that. It's my opinion. That's what I feed my pets is grain-free food. Raw is best, but not everybody has the time or the budget to do that. So my personal process is I feed my pets grain-free, high-quality food, and then I supplement them with raw food. So they'll get a raw egg with their food, maybe some carrots, maybe some, or a few sardines or something on their food, or I'm just always supplementing. Even if we're having meat for dinner, they get a little bit of the raw meat too. So the raw food provides the enzymes that the animals need to digest their food. Just like as humans, you eat a cheeseburger and you can't digest it. You have heartburn, you have upset stomach, indigestion. Taking some digestive enzymes is kind of a magic thing. Well, we're meant to have raw with our food because the raw provides the enzymes, especially if our digestive system is compromised and we're not producing as many enzymes or as much hydrochloric acid or digestive juices as we should. So by supplementing our diet with raw, we're adding into that and making ourselves healthier. It kind of is like pre-digesting your food by eating your salad before your meal, even just a little salad or a little bit of raw sauerkraut or something like that. You're giving your body the tools that it needs to break the food down. So it's the same for our pets. So giving your pets a little bit of something raw. A lot of dogs will just eat baby carrots. I just always have raw organic baby carrots in the fridge. One of my dogs likes them. The other one, you have to take a bite of it first and give it to her, and then she'll eat it. But that's kind of one of my favorite little easy, if I'm busy day and I don't have time to prepare something special for them, they get a few carrots, as a treat, a few apple slices or a few blueberries, or, even just a raw egg is enough to make sure that they're getting some of those enzymes in their food. I do supplement my pets as well. They get detox as well. The same products that my family takes for detox, I give to my pets. And then they also get probiotics and enzymes, and then any other supplements if they're dealing with any kind of, health issue or whatever. I get supplements to deal with that particularly, but daily it's detox, enzymes, and probiotics for my pets.
That's great information. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, I appreciate you being here today. It was so wonderful to chat with you and find out a little bit about what you do.
This was lovely. Thank you so much, Allison.
You bet. You bet. And we will chat again sometime. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Bye. Thank you.